Hello everyone, my name is Wajiro Moreithi of WINENJIRU Exclusives, giving you conversations with WINENJIRU. Today, on this seemingly gloomy day, we are out and about at the craft beer garden in Karen with my good friend
Adero, Achola.
Joy, yes, Joy, who, look at us today. We didn't plan to be dressed this way, but it just happened. Great minds think alike. And I'm proud to say I have been styled by you, Joy. This is the jacket that keeps giving. You know, everywhere I go, everybody asks about it.
Oh, you wait.
So
Well,
she's the reason. Thank you. She's the reason for it, right? So if you wanted to know where I got this jacket from, now you do. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Joy.
You're most welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Excited as always. Our relationship actually began in class. I was teaching. You're the student, and let me just say this: I'm looking forward to the day you'll be teaching and I'll be the student. Yeah, so I'm going to wait for my level. I'm going to wait and not do my level 4 until you're a certified level 4 educator. What do you have to say about that?
Just go ahead and finish the level 4, and then because I'll be leaning on you for those questions and the guidance.
You'll have to be the teacher. You'll have to be the teacher. So we, as like many Kenyans, our journey with wine has been one that has come from somewhere else.
Yes.
So before you got into wine and beer, which we'll come to, do let us know what you were doing.
Ooh, wow. Okay. So my educational background is in medicine. And won't link on that so much. Let's just say I swerved into design. And so I went and got into interior and accessory design.
Awesome.
And which is, I still do. Before we met and I started, my wine journey has been running concurrent with everything else that I do. So, yes, so I'd call myself a designer.
Okay.
Yes.
So a medical designer.
Stroke some.
Stroke some. I love it. There's been such great diversity in where people start their journey, whether concurrently, I like what you said, concurrently, or because of course it's not a standalone and it's not like it's this step up to here and then you get into wine.
Yes.
You were doing those things before.
Yeah.
So you came into class and you topped both the level 1 and set the record. We have the Centennial Club of people who get perfect scores, and the same for level 2.
It was a surprise. I didn't, because I remember the first time when I walked into class and everyone was in the industry already. So it was, when we were doing the introductions, it was so-and-so from such a wine company import. And then I thought to myself, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe I should leave now. But I was already in it. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And yeah. I'm happy.
You're happy that you hold the record.
Yes.
Actually, the only lady, because all the subsequent people, in fact, results came out today. All the subsequent people who've scored the perfect score have been men. So, ladies, here is a challenge to you to uphold Adero's record, right?
Let's beat them.
Let's beat them, yeah. But then, what led you to that class? What was it that triggered this interest, and even more to get a qualification?
To get a qualification. So, like, I've always been intrigued by wine. So. And I remember when I started actually taking like a real interest, and I was like, you know what, I like it enough to like to sip it, but I also want to learn more about it. Of course, we didn't have any qualifications. This was maybe 2012, 2013. I started like getting magazine subscriptions. So, you know, Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast, going on the internet, like self-teaching. And I always used to wonder, I wonder whether someone can teach me better. And then what happened is I watched the movie Some.
Yes.
And then I was like, wow, okay, so you can actually learn this in a very, you know, like set environment, and there's actually more to know than what I'd think. And of course, after watching the movie, I went onto the internet, looked at all the qualifications, none of them being offered locally. So I said, okay, well, I guess that's that, unless I want to go somewhere else. Then fast forward to 2019, and I was just I'd bought a ticket to like the wine expo.
Okay, yes.
Yes, the wine festival.
It wasn't the one at the trademark?
The one at the trademark.
Yes.
So I was there, of course, we're walking booth to booth. then I walk up to one booth, this nice lady, she's like, oh yeah, we have these classes, and I just see the WSET logo, and I was like, it is here. My prayers have been answered.
Yes.
And right then and then, next week, I just went to the offices, because they're here in Karen.
Yes.
And just registered. And I said, let's see what happens.
So plant the seed early. 2012, I don't even think I was thinking about getting into the wine business in 2012.
Are you serious?
When you were doing the subscriptions and all. I've actually never subscribed to a wine magazine. So I'm challenged today. The same way you saw the lady and your prayers were answered, I'm challenged today. At least on the movie, indeed, we had watched that movie.
Yes.
And of course, Som is short for sommelier.
Sommelier, yeah.
And this movie is about people who are studying for the Master of Wine exams. And they're doing crazy wine tastings.
It's rigorous.
It's quite rigorous.
Intense.
And there's three volumes of that movie. I think anybody who wants to who wants to sort of get a glimpse of how far you can go should watch that movie.
Yeah.
Yes. But then you also deal with cigars. You always have had this luxury side, I guess, whether it comes from the design or not, because I've seen you talk about cigars. I've seen you, of course, talk about the design.
Yes.
And of course, your fashion sense is impeccable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Tell us more about your interest in, I guess, nice things, I would say.
I like immersive experiences. Mm-hmm. So it's not like wine, cigars, liquor, spirits, food. I really like something that's really soaks you and your senses.
Yes.
And you can appreciate it in a holistic way.
Yes.
So I think that's where my love for all these things comes from. So, and even then, I self-taught most of these things, like even cigars. You just go and you learn, and there's some people willing to help you, because there's some people who are more knowledgeable. And so you bring these people close, and they teach you, and they bring you samples from their travels, and it's slowly. If you have an interest in anything, I always say, don't limit yourself by where you are. You can always take a little step, and then when the big step comes, you'll be better prepared to take the leap. Yeah.
And bring it here yourself. I mean, the reason I brought WSET into the country, or I was interested in bringing it to the country, was because of the money I spent getting the qualification from Cape Town, which was great, but saving people that expense, and enabling them to at least get the first steps here in the country.
And you've done a great job, because thank you. I'll tell you my thank yous now, because if it weren't for you and HCC doing it, then I'd still be just not a WSET graduate.
Not holding the top centennial position. We are thankful for it.
Yeah.
So then you got into employment in the wine space. Please tell us about that journey.
Oh, yeah. So shortly after getting my certification, there was an importer who was looking for somebody to work with them in terms of sales and also sommelier work on their own trade. And at that time, I was looking to delve more into the wine space. So met up with him. His name is Dan Davis, runs the Dion, East Africa, the importers. And so, January 2020, I started. Then, of course, COVID hit. So in the midst, because what I was meant to do is I was meant to be like going to establishments and doing live tastings, and of course COVID put a stop to all of that, and hotels, restaurants shut down. Luckily, they pivoted and swerved into starting a retailer, the Wine Box. So I worked in there a little bit, and then in the course of that year, I left to start this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you left us wine people. At least I see 2 bottles of wine here.
I'm still a very much wine person.
Okay. I love this space. Rustic. You called it a beach bar.
It's a beach bar in the city.
Beach bar in the city, because we're overlooking the Southern Bypass. But I'm feeling like, with some sunshine, this will be really great. So tell us about the craft beer garden and your dream for it and your journey through it.
Yes. So it's actually a COVID baby.
Wow.
Yes, we started it in the midst of COVID. We opened our doors in October of 2020. So, and the idea, we'd always kicked this idea around, but it was never, one of these ideas that you always just have, and it's in your head, and sometimes you might mention it at a party, and then you laugh and say, haha, and it never materializes. But then because of the location where my design shop was, we had a very nice space, very nice garden out back.
Yes.
And we're like, we can do something with it. Not go too crazy, just open a place that's outdoors. People can come, have good beer because most of what we do is from local microbreweries.
Okay.
So it's craft. We still have a bit of mainstream beers as well, but we have, I think, beers from all the local manufacturers. So if you're a beer person or even just wants to learn about beer, this is the best place to come. You can have, sample a little bit of everything, get to know Kenyan beers, and just enjoy yourself. And we have wine too. And I will never not have wine.
Please remember us in your beer journey.
We will never not have wine.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of clientele do you have in this space, and why did you choose, in essence, this location or this area in general for this experience? Why not in a mall?
Why not in a mall? Because then it wouldn't be a garden. Like in my head, it was always implanted that it has to be a garden of sorts, outdoors, nature. As you have your beers, nice hot sun, and you can just get to have, a different experience from what we're used to, being cramped in the concrete jungle.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like very much to be one with nature,
Nice.
even on this gloomy day.
and
elements.
It rained specifically for you. Right? So I like that. The Zen environment was very important.
Yes.
Local craft beers. So you wouldn't want to take that sort of local artistry
and then dampen it with something that's very... I want an authentic experience.
Great.
Whatever that is. If it's rain, that's fine.
Okay. So why beers? Let me tell you. Okay, or rather, what are some of the... If I remember correctly, I'm not sure how many of these companies were started like way before. Kenya has always been a beer country, with East African breweries being, of course, the biggest, the big name in the space. So tell us a bit of how you select your portfolio, in a sense, of who qualifies to be listed. Listed. And of course, the names are really big. You'll have to educate us on why this brands.
Yeah.
And in a sense, how different your experience is from, say, any bar that sells beer.
So, of course, EABL is like the biggest out of all of them, and they're also the ones with the most market share, obviously. But what we noticed is that the craft beer scene internationally has been growing, but hasn't really been growing in Kenya. So we're like, what we're going to do different is that we're going to bring the craft beer scene and bring it locally.
Okay.
Yeah. We might not be able to brew ourselves, but what we can do is that we can make the beers more accessible. Yeah. You don't only have to go to the people's tap rooms to enjoy them, because all of these people have tap rooms.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but when you go there, you only find their beers.
Okay.
We wanted to have a tap room, but that serves all the microbreweries.
Okay.
So you can have, whether it's the big five, Wananchi breweries, who are, I think they're the largest microbrewery and also the oldest in the country.
Okay.
So they started the trend. And then after them came the Bila Shaka, who are formerly called Batalur, and then there's 254. So we have these little brewers here, and I feel like it gives the customer more options.
Okay.
More options, more exposure. What you're used to doesn't have to be that linear.
Yes.
You can try something else, try different flavors. So just because you're a beer drinker doesn't mean you have to drink the same old thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing that we want to happen in the wine
space.
industry is the same.
You curate the experience and give people the diverse choices available.
Yes.
In a specific environment.
And the education, because a lot of times people might come in not knowing much about beer outside of what the mainstream offers.
Yes.
And they get to try, sample, and learn that beer comes in all different flavors and styles for different palates. Yes.
Okay. So what are the different styles available here? I could tell that some bottles are darker. I think the Gorilla Imperial Stout and the Power Out Stout.
Yes, those are both stouts. So they're very heavy and chocolatey. If you were to liken them to mainstream beer, you'd call them Guinness.
Okay.
Yes. So that's... And we have different kinds. We have lagers.
Yes.
And then we have IPAs, which are not common in the mainstream market because it's an acquired taste. So what happens is that they use more hops, bitter hops to give it the flavor. So IPA is short for India Pale Ale.
Okay.
Yes, and right here we have Bila Shaka has its IPA.
Okay.
There's a session IPA from 254 called Golden Rump. There's a purple hazy IPA again from 254.
Okay.
Yeah, so different kinds of beers for different flavors.
Okay, and then these are all not 500 ml. They are 330.
330.
330
by volume.
Okay, and then the alcohol.
Oh, it ranges.
Ranges from what to what?
Anywhere from 3.5 to 9.
To 9, which is 9%.
Yes, this would be that.
Okay, the dark stout.
The dark stout.
All right, there you have it. I mean, and I love the brilliant, the vibrant labeling.
Very, very vibrant.
It's not sort of mainstream, from what we're used to.
It's very, artistic, very breaking the mold. I love this shapeshifter. it's the new label.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a lager with flavors of mango and rock salt. Very interesting. So
mango and rock salt. So that takes me back to the ladies who used to sell
like chili mango.
Chili mango outside the school, and
but now in a beer.
With a crunch too. I love it. Do you also serve food here?
Of course we do. Yes, we do. We have the best wings and ribs Nairobi has to offer.
We're gonna have some later. Yeah.
Yes, we have chicken tenders, burgers, all in their own special sauce that you get to choose the heats.
Yes.
And it's an experience. It's an experience. Once you have our beers and our wine and wings and ribs, you'll never go anywhere else.
Never go anywhere else in this environment.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think about the ecosystem, I mean, of course, you understood it from the wine side, working for an importer who was also a retailer. And then there's also, now, if you think about wines as a market and beers as a market, I mean, Kenya has always been a beer country.
Yes.
You're bringing in a differentiator.
Yes.
And where do you want to see yourself in this space? You've talked about Brew Bistro, which is, I think, what you're calling the Big Five Brewery.
Yeah.
And there's, Sierra Brewery as well. And I like what you said, you call them, they're not tasting rooms. What are they?
Tap rooms.
Tap rooms, I love that. There's the tap rooms, right? So what is your vision, and how do you see yourself playing in this space, being the new kid on the block?
For me, I'd like to, I'm happy for what we've done. We're the first beer garden in the country, and we're the first place to offer all this. Others are coming up, which is good as well, to give Kenyans more options. I'd like to say that I want to try and do the same for the wine space.
Okay.
How that looks, not quite so sure
not quite
yet.
So sure yet.
Yes, but yeah, I'd love to do something in the same vein, but in wine.
In wine.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think there's opportunity for, especially women entrepreneurs, and what I would call the people who've been in the wine space sometimes have been in it for longer?
Yes.
Yeah, so for new entrants to try and do the same and challenge the market.
Yes, of course there is, because while the people who've been in it for long have their niche and what they're doing, I feel like there's always room for innovation, and there's always room for you to do your own thing.
Okay.
You don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but you could have a different angle that serves a different crowd and a different purpose. And yeah, just find your thing and do it. Just because other people have been doing it before doesn't mean you don't have a voice. So long as you have something that's original and something that people are interested in, then you can go for it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, let's face it. There's room for growth in the wine industry in this country.
And even in beer,
and even in
spirits.
everything. Yeah, we are by no means at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you want to get into your own production process as well?
Oh,
and
wow.
have your own brands?
Now, wanting to and actually doing it are two very different. I mean, I entertain the thought, so I'll never say never.
Yes.
Just the same way I entertain the thought of actually being
learning about
wine and entertain the thought of having a beer garden. I'll never say never. And yeah, if the opportunity presents itself and I'm there and the timing is good, why not? I'm a try once, everything once kind of person.
Yes. As long as it makes sense to you, and you will bring your vibrant, dynamic design.
I will try
flair into it. COVID business. I actually had not. I mean, of course, we've been friends for a long time, and of course through that period.
Yeah.
But then I didn't actually remember that when all bars were being closed down is when you
That's
said,
when we decided
let's open an establishment when they're closing all the others down right now.
It was mainly because at that point, it's more thinking about this could all go away.
Okay.
Yeah, we never thought places could close. And
Yes.
I was like, you know what? If ever there's a time to do something, it's now. Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Even if we run it for 2 months and they decide we're never ever going to leave our houses ever again, at least we can say that dream we checked that box.
Yes.
Yeah, and plus we're outside. It was a garden. We're like, I think people when it opened up, I think people would don't like to be outside and not to be
Yes.
cooped or cramped in like enclosed areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we started going sort of to the neighborhood spaces,
Yes.
right? And I think there's an explosion of that. I can't believe how we used to cross town just for drinks.
I know.
Now I know we look for anything that's close by, and luckily
Stone's throw.
Yeah,
Yes.
luckily there's lots of experiences. And anyway, you could always convert this house into a hotel, and then you would qualify,
And
not
then-
just being a bar.
But that would be a hotel.
It would be a hotel, and it would work out. In terms of the regulatory environment,
Yeah.
I mean, we talk to wine importers, and they, of course, cry about the regulatory environment to
Yeah.
operate that business. Is it easier for an establishment like this? The compliance that you need to operate under, what are some of those things you had to comply with? Because we know you're compliant.
Of course, yes, but the licensing, you don't realize it until you get in all the
Yes.
licensing you need. So you have to get all your licensing, make sure you've been certified and you have everything that you need to do to have to operate. Luckily, when it comes to production, that falls on the
Production side.
production side. So of course we don't brew, so we don't know the pinch. I know it's a bit of a hectic situation for people who actually want to produce the alcohol. So for us it comes pre-certified with all the stickers and whatever they need. But that being said, the cost always gets pushed on
To you.
it will always get pushed on to us and eventually to the end consumer.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a bit punitive and restrictive in that I feel like with a little bit of help, the industry would flourish if the barrier to entry wasn't as high.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like if the barrier to entry was reduced and more people who are capable, not necessarily monetarily, but capable in other ways,
Yes.
could come in and the industry could grow. Yeah.
Okay. So how many licenses do you have here, for example? You had to get of course, business permit.
You have to get your business permit. You have to get your liquor license. You have to get a health certificate, food handlers, advertising. The list goes on. I'm sure I have not covered all of them, but there are like 20 of them.
But
Yeah.
there are like 20 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Something perhaps tied to the environmental things that we're going through.
Yeah.
So of course, wine comes in bottles, and I see some of your merchandise is in bottles, but then you also have the drafts.
Yes.
Please tell us about that, and in essence, your choice, I guess, for minimizing packaged goods, or was it about profit on the keg products?
It wasn't necessarily about profit or even when we're doing it. I mean, the environmental aspect was more of a happy accident.
Oh, okay.
To be quite honest.
Yes.
I wanted to do a bar where we can have an ice. When you go to an ice cream parlor,
Okay.
and then you
yes.
get to sample like 2 or 3 ice creams and decide the one you want. I was like, yeah, but for beer.
For beer.
Yes, so-
I'm thinking about snow cream. I
Yes.
can even see them now.
So that was the idea. So like even when our customers come here, even if you're not 100% sure of what you want,
Yes.
you can always get a little bit of a taster
Okay.
from the tap, so that familiarize yourself. You might not know exactly what kind of lager, but we'll give you 1 or 2 before you commit.
Before you commit.
Yes,
okay.
so that whatever beer you get, you are at least sure that you're going to love it.
So it was more about the experience,
The customer experience,
which of
yes.
course you emphasize a lot, and creating a sort of tap room
Yes,
with all the people
with all the
here.
people included.
And with that, you're also able to, I guess, address the whole, bottle handling,
Yes.
profitability
Yeah.
as well. I like it. I like how some things happen in reverse at all. Yeah, I mean, you have to try. When you gave me this jacket, you sent the photo. And
And
I
I
was
remember
like,
what you said. You're like,
and I was like, yeah, I literally was like, okay, and then what material is it? Like I couldn't really place my head around
Yeah.
it, and then it came, and now I never remove it.
don't take it. Yeah.
This is also my little happy accident in style, right? But now I carry it
Now
well,
you-
and it totally, I cannot see myself without it. Okay,
I'm
so
glad you like it.
maybe as a parting shot, what would you like to see in the future? Just again, in the hospitality space in
Yeah.
Kenya and all, would you like to open a franchise of this? And of course, yeah, the whole brewmaster title coming to you, and you creating your own movie as well.
All these things, huh?
All of the above.
You're speaking it all into existence. No, I mean, I would love, maybe one day to make wine. I do
To
not
make wine.
To make wine. if it ever happens. If it happens, great. But that's the one thing I'd like to check off the box.
Yes.
As far as franchising, if it's possible to do without losing the soul of the place,
Okay.
then it's something that I'd be willing to look into. But for me, it's more, like I said, customer experience. I want you to feel what I wanted you to feel when you walked into this place. Yeah. So I always want to keep that intact. And for the wine industry and the wine space, I just want to see more diversity, more experiments, people trying new things, new countries, new grape varieties, things that we can try and expand our knowledge, expand our palates. I'd like to see more events focused around wine and food and beer and basically all the, like I said, sensory. Yeah, how to see, taste, smell.
Yes.
Yes. So if you can have like large scale events centered around that, I think to push the industry more, because the exposure is always key. You always want to bring in people and break them out of the mold and what they're used to. Yeah.
Okay. You know what has just crossed my mind now? That next time we come here, we'll literally be getting served wine from a barrel. But before we get to that part of this business progressing that way, it's time for our ribs and wings, right?
We are going to have some ribs, some wings. WINENJIRU here is going to have a lager. Something different this time.
Something different this time.
Something
Yes.
different this time.
Yes.
And then after that, maybe we'll have a glass of wine.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for coming, and thank you WINENJIRU so much for coming. I appreciate the ride all the way through.
Thank you so much, Adero. You really indeed bring joy to all of us, and I'm so glad.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best in this journey. Looking forward to tasting that
Thank
wine as
you.
well. So this is part of the conversations we're having. I'm sure we'll be back here and we'll have seen great changes to this business. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.